the ABCs of commercial real estate. So, in this training, we're going to be going through the alphabet and we're going to be talking about some high yield concepts that you are definitely going to see in the real world, in the commercial game. So, be sure to pay attention because you're going to encounter these things. I want to make sure that all of you guys are prepared and you feel completely confident kind of going into this. So, let's go ahead and start off with A. A is the anchor tenant. The anchor tenant in commercial is the big dog. This is the person that is actually kind of floating this investment, and they're the big name. They're the Kroger. They're the Target. They're the Starbucks. They are the main tenant in a plaza that's going to be drawing the majority of the traffic. And that is really important because when you have a big dog and a lot of people are flooding to this plaza, then a lot of the other businesses will benefit from that. Now, there is a benefit to being the big dog, and that is you're going to get a more attractive lease. For example, if I'm bringing Kroger in, then I might give them a 20-year lease at $12 a square foot versus a smaller tenant. I might charge them $24 a square foot. Why am I charging more to the smaller tenant? Well, because look, we got a Kroger here. We're going to have so much traffic here that you're going to benefit from that. So by having an anchor tenant, you're able to then upcharge some of the smaller names, if you will. And hey, you got to sort of pay to play. You got to pay to kind of be in this location. That's kind of the whole idea behind it. Okay. The other thing is if Kroger leaves, the entire value of the plaza just kind of came down. So other tenants may have a co-tenancy clause allowing them to break their lease, which is interesting. They'll say, hey, if the Target leaves, if the Starbucks leaves, I have the right to break my lease. B, build out allowance or TI. So a tenant improvement allowance or a build out allowance is basically money that the landlord is giving you to customize or finish your space. So I may allow you to lease out like a 2,000 square foot space in like a new retail center. And I'll offer you, let's say $25 a square foot tenant improvement. So that's like 50 grand, for example, in our example here. So I'm actually giving you money towards your space. I'm encouraging you to be here. So I'm literally going to take money out of my pocket day one so that you can put the flooring, put the lighting, put the painting, do what you need to do, because the whole idea is that over time, I'm going to make way more than 50 grand over time. We have a 10 or 20 year lease here. So for me, it's an investment. I'll give you 50 grand up front to build out your entire thing. And then, long term, I'll definitely make my money back. So build out allowances are very common. They're negotiated into the lease. And a higher tenant improvement allowance is associated with a longer lease commitment. So like I said, if you have a 10-year guaranteed lease, yeah, or a 20-year guaranteed lease, wow, that's impressive. So I'm definitely going to give you some money to kind of help you with your build out. CAM, you're going to hear this a lot. Common area maintenance. So CAM is our charges that are they're charged to tenants for things like parking lot maintenance, sidewalks, landscaping, lighting, and it's part of a triple net lease structure. So a triple net lease or net lease is where you're paying the rent, but on top of the rent, you're also paying property tax, maintenance, and insurance. So CAM is estimated annually, and it's sort of a guess. The landlord is sort of going to guess what the CAM is, and then towards the end of the year, if you owe them more money, you reconcile with the landlord. So there's an example here: a tenant signs a lease, 1,500 square feet, $20 base plus $6 CAM. So it'll be $26 a square to rent out this space. That $6 is covering snow removal, parking lot lights, property management. And then again, at the end of the year, we're going to figure out if you underpaid or overpaid. And it is shared proportionally based on your gross lease area, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But yeah, common area maintenance, snow, grass, lights, property management. Yep, that's what it said. That's what it is. D is for due diligence. Very important to do your due diligence. This is the research you do. We do this in residential or commercial, it doesn't matter. You got to know what you're buying. So you got to review your leases, financials, titles, zoning. You have to know what you're buying, right? You got to make sure you know which issues. Are there any issues here? Usually due diligence is going to take in commercial a little longer than residential. Due diligence is typically 30 to 60 days, sometimes more. I've seen people do 4 months due diligence before 4 months. I mean, hey, if it's something big you're buying, you say, I need time. I got to do my tests. I got to do whatever it is. So yeah, you put a shopping plaza under contract. You want to review the leases, rent rolls, CAM reconciliation reports, meaning like, what am I looking at annually for the CAM? We just talked about that. How's the roof? How's the HVAC? Are there any environmental issues? Remember, there's a phase one, phase two, and phase three environmental report. Phase one, they come out, they kind of look for evidence of any contamination. Phase two, they take samples of the soil. Phase three, they do a full cleanup of the issue if there is an issue. And so, listen, if I'm doing my due diligence and I find something wrong, I'm going to use this as a reason to renegotiate with the seller. Estoppel certificates. So this is where the buyer is going to go to all the tenants. Let's say it's a shopping plaza or something, shopping center, and there's 10 tenants here. There's a Subway, there's a Verizon, there's a whatever, there's 10 people or 10 businesses. I'm going to go one by one and make them sign an estoppel certificate, essentially saying, hey, there's really no issues here. I want you to confirm specific key lease terms, confirm the rent. This is exactly what you're paying. Confirm this. Confirm your options to renew. Confirm that you don't know if the landlord's in default. It's really just the tenants admitting to any issues, like or they're saying we're good. Everything's good. There's no issues. Everything's fine. This way, I know I have the tenants on my side in a way. And once I get all my estoppel certificates, I feel more confident going into this thing, knowing all the lease terms. I know when it expires, there's no disputes, and I'm able to kind of move forward towards closing because all the tenants sort of signed a statement saying that they're being honest about everything. F, FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment. You remember back in real estate class, we learned something that's called trade fixtures. So trade fixtures are anything that are installed into the unit that's related to the business. So this is very similar in a way, although this is for movable business assets. Okay, so they're not fixtures, but in a way they're similar. So these are anything movable: tables, chairs, shelving, kitchen equipment, signage, point of sale systems, anything that you can move around is FF&E. So if you're buying a property, let's say you're buying a car wash in this example, the building and the land are valued at 1.6, but then 600,000 is for the FF&E, which is like car wash. So you have the wash tunnel, vacuums, air compressors, all that is kind of separate. So the lender needs to know this because the lender needs to understand, what am I financing? The lender may not even care about that $600,000 of stuff. They only care about the 1.6. They only care about the land and the building. That's all they're financing. We don't care about the other stuff. And so you would get a separate bill. If you're buying all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, if you're buying it, it would be done on a different bill of sale. So a bill of sale is that document that you can write down anything movable, all the chattel. So it also helps the buyer inspect these items too. The buyer wants to make sure all that stuff is working, the vacuums are working, and whatever it is, everything is working. So that's very important when you're buying something to get all the FF&E figured out. So we know to either bundle it into the deal or exclude it from the deal too, right? The seller may not be including that stuff. They may say, hey, I'm not including any of this. So then you need to know to exclude it from the deal. Next up is G, gross leasable area. So a strip center has 5 tenants with units totaling 18,000 square feet. new coffee shop is coming in and taking 10% of that. So based on your GLA, if you're only taking 10% of the 18,000, you're only taking 1,800, then you're going to pay 10% of the CAM. The snow, the lights, the what you're paying 10% of the CAM. So a lot of times what sellers do is they'll go to like last year's CAM and then they'll estimate this year's CAM. They'll say last year we spent this much. So this year we're going to charge you X amount because we're estimating it's going to be about the same. And then they'll go from there. So yeah, the more square footage you're taking up, the more GLA you're taking up, and then the more, the more kind of everything else kind of goes with that. So it's the total square footage available to lease. And it's definitely very, very important to understand that. Okay. So that's GLA. It's pretty much the amount of space you're taking. Holdover clause. This one's interesting. If you stay too long, let's say your lease is up. Your lease is up, but you're still here. Okay. Well, in the lease, the seller may say, or the landlord may say, rather, if you're not out by this date, if you stay any more time, I'm going to like boost your rent up like 200%, your base rent up 200%, something like it's called a holdover clause. So if you were paying 3,000 a month and you haven't left yet, 6,000 a month. Whoa. It's there to get you out. it's there to get you out faster or to renegotiate with you. So holdover clause, it's, I've seen them in agreements. You can also negotiate to take them out of an agreement too, obviously, but that is the holdover clause. Inline space. So an inline space is where somebody is benefiting by being sort of in the middle of two other businesses. So imagine you have a T-Mobile and then you have like a nail salon and then you have a Subway. Well, you got a T-Mobile over here, you got a nail salon over here, and then you got the Subway over there. By being in the middle, you're going to benefit from that because people are coming to the Subway, people are coming to the T-Mobile. You're in the middle, and you're benefiting from that traffic. So, that's a very big benefit to have that. Um, so that's something good to have. Yeah, inside of like a shopping plaza, why not? I mean, that way you get more visibility when people, you get a lot of foot traffic when people are coming to those other businesses. So that's an inline space. Joint anchor. So it's not the anchor, it's not the Target or the Starbucks, but it's like another big name. So you may have a Target, but then you have a Marshalls or something like that. So it's maybe not the star of the show, but it's like the second star of the show. It's called a joint anchor. It's really nice to have a joint anchor. Obviously, you got a Plaza and you got a Chick-fil-A, and then maybe you have a Petco or something. It's just nice to have like a couple of brands, a couple of nice brands there. So obviously it helps inline tenants. It helps those middle nail salon tenants too. And it's obviously great for the landlord too. A lot of foot traffic, and I'm able to value my development at a higher price point if I want to sell it. Okay, a kicker clause. So I've heard this referred to as a couple different things. In real estate class, we learned about something that's called a percentage lease. So a percentage lease is where the landlord takes a percentage of your sales. Kicker clause is kind of the same thing. So a clothing store pays $20 base rent, and then they'll kick the landlord maybe 5% at the end of the year if they did over X amount. So in the lease, the landlord will say, if you do anything over $1 million, for example, yeah, you kick me 5% of whatever you made over $1 million. So on the $200,000 extra they made, if they made 1.2 off the 200,000, they would give 5% of that to the landlord for an additional 10 grand or whatever it is. And so it's just a kick. Okay. That's all it is. It's very similar to a percentage lease. Letter of intent, very important. Letter of intent is kind of like a lighter PA, a lighter purchase agreement. So instead of giving a purchase agreement to the landlord, you give them a letter of intent instead. You say, look, we're very serious about this property. We're very interested. Here's what we're proposing to you. We're proposing this, this, and this. This is what we want. They send the LOI over to the seller. The seller signs it, and then the attorneys get the agreement going, or us, or the agents get it going. Then we'll actually get the real paperwork started. So the LOI is sort of just a very light interest document. We're very interested in this. And then from the LOI, we graduate into the real paperwork. If you guys
The
need an
attorneys will.
LOI, let us know on this. We have copies of LOIs that we can share with you. Did somebody have a question?
No, I was just saying the attorneys will usually draft up a purchase agreement.
Yeah, the attorneys can do it, or even we can do it. If you guys look at the chat, there is a an LOI example. And again, we do have these LOIs available to you guys if you want to use ours. By all means, of course, have it reviewed by an attorney. Make sure your broker looks at it and stuff. So, all right, next up, mezzanine financing. Basically, you don't have all the money to close, and somebody jumps in to kind of help you out with the deal. So you're trying to buy something for 10 million, but you only have 9. So you're short a million. A mezzanine lender provides the remaining million, sometimes at higher interest, and sometimes they'll want an equity cut. So somebody will come in, it's a second layer of capital. They'll come in, they'll help you get to closing, but it's going to be expensive. They're going to charge you some interest, and they're probably going to want a bite of your sales. They're going to say, look, I want 5% of everything that this company's making. They actually want like an actual ownership stake in a way. Okay, so that's called mezzanine financing or a mezz lender. Triple net lease. This is something we already talked about. So triple net, obviously you are paying the property tax, the maintenance, and the insurance in addition to the rent. So taxes, insurance, and then maintenance or CAM, common area maintenance. We already talked about that. So the landlord is receiving a base rent plus those three things. I mean, they should call it a quadruple net lease, because it's really four things if you add in the rent. So you're definitely going to see this in retail, quick service restaurants, medical, investment grade tenants. You're going to see it all over the place. There's going to be built-in rent increases, which are also called escalation clauses. Here's an example. Starbucks signs a 10-year triple net lease for 2,000 square feet. Rent is $50,000 a year, which is the base. Plus they pay 12,000 taxes, 45 insurance, and 6,000 CAM. So the landlord receives 50,000 base rent, and then obviously, you can do the math from there, but you kind of get the point. So triple net lease, very common in commercial. Option to renew, you're going to see all the time. So I will give a good anchor tenant or junior anchor, I will give them options to renew. So a pharmacy signs a 10-year lease with 2 5-year renewal options. So at the end of 10 years, they could walk away or they can exercise one of their renewal periods. And you could do all sorts of stuff here. You could say if you choose to renew, it's $10,000 or it's a $50,000 renewal. This is real estate. You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. But yeah, you can just give them the option, clean. Hey, you have the option to renew if you want it. If not, see you later. Or, you can charge them for it or just whatever you want. That's fine. So that's the option to renew. Pad site. So pad sites look like this. Like you see a busy road. You see like a very busy road, like Hallsworth. I don't know where the hell that is. I just found it online. Okay. But you find like a busy road, and right off the road are these pad sites. So you see like back here, back on the property, you see the anchor, like the AMC would be the anchor tenant, right? These would be the inline tenants, Rowdy's, Daily Bread Church, Urban. Personally, I haven't heard of any of these. Again, this is a screenshot I took from like a different state. So I don't really think these are big businesses. I haven't heard of them. But up here you may see a Chick-fil-A. You may see like a credit union up here, a Panera. So those are like the pad sites you'll see kind of up front on the road. So that's what those are. You see a lot of Chick-fil-A's that use pad sites. They usually like to be right up on the road. And so they're very attractive, especially for the investor, the landlord, because those pads are bringing people in. They're bringing foot traffic in. So when people come off the road to a Chick-fil-A, they might drive a little further back and come to one of the other inline units or whatever it is. Okay, so um, they're usually ground leased, by the way. Ground leased, which means that I'm only leasing you the ground. I'm not selling it to you. I'm just leasing it to you. So technically, if a McDonald's came in here and when McDonald's lease runs out, McDonald's might knock down their building. They might just knock it down at the end, and then now I have a brand new pad and I can just go sell it to somebody else like that. Q for quick service restaurant, kind of what it sounds like. Quick service restaurant, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, Starbucks. Okay, so a developer may secure a ground lease with a Taco Bell, and put him or her on that
Oh.
on one of these pads. So I might put a Taco Bell here or something, a QSR. I could put a QSR right over here, Chick-fil-A, something like that. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Pretty straightforward. Rent roll, very important. You got to know the rent roll. You got to know what this property is bringing in. So if it's a nail salon, then it's going to show, the rent roll is going to show exactly what square footage it is, how much is it per square foot, when does it expire. The pizza shop has a 5-year option. There's one that's vacant. It's projected at 22. I need to know what's currently being rented out, what the current square footage, price per square foot is, how much square footage are we talking about, how much occupancy do we have, how much vacancy do we have. Very important for me to understand my numbers, especially if I'm going to buy something. I need to know what the rent roll is. Let me see what I have in front of me. Shadow anchor. These are cool because it's like an anchor tenant, but they're not on your land. So like there might be a Costco or something just kitty corner from my property. It's a shadow tenant or a shadow anchor. So it's not my anchor, but it's really close to where I am.
Mm,
So
okay.
even though it's not mine, at least it's still bringing traffic in. A lot of people drive by my place to get to the Costco. Hey, that might bring me some business, you know? So that's a shadow anchor, not on your property, but very close by. Tunnels, like car washes. When you go into a car wash, you go through the tunnel, don't you? So that's those are tunnels. It's kind of slang. You're going to hear people say, yeah, I have a car wash, or I own this many car washes. I have 10 tunnels, or what. It's just kind of slang, just so you know. Or like I may have a 125-foot tunnel wash. I may tell you something like that. So just the tunnel is your good old fashioned car wash, basically. Use clause. So this one is very similar to like a deed restriction in a way, where I say, except it's in a lease. It's where I say, look, the tenant is signing a lease that says you can only sell wireless phones here. Or like a Subway may come in and say, no other tenant is allowed to sell sandwiches in this plaza. So if like a Jersey Mike's comes in, I have to turn them down. Say, I'm sorry, there's a use clause. Subway won't let me sell Subway sandwiches or any sub sandwiches to anybody else. I'm sorry, I can't lease to you because of the use clause. Okay, so you will see this. The landlord will put something in. He or she will put a use clause in, or a big anchor. A big anchor may come in and say, no, nobody else can sell sandwiches or whatever in this plaza. Vacancy allowance, essentially it's part of underwriting. So when you're underwriting a deal, I have to allow for some vacancy in my calculations because I have to know, like, look, this place is not always going to be 100% occupied. I mean, it might be, but when I'm doing my underwriting, I'm going to assume one of these 10 units is going to be empty. So it's a vacancy allowance. It's just me factoring in the fact that there may be some vacancy, and therefore, by doing my vacancy allowance, I'll be able to underwrite this deal better.
Mhm.
Warm shell. This is where the landlord gets the unit pretty much almost ready for you, but you put the bells and whistles. So look, I'll do the HVAC for you. I'll get the lighting for you. I'll paint. basically. I'll put a bathroom in and you finish it. It's a warm shell. So you'll come in, the unit is almost ready, and now you just got to put your shelves, you got to put your TVs up, and you got to make it kind of what you want. But, I got it warm for you. I did the floor, I did the walls, I painted. I got it almost ready for you. X factor tenants. So these are people that are really helping bring you traffic. So exceptional brand power.
Chico, hey,
Again, going back to the Chick-fil-A on the pad site, to the Target, the Starbucks. This is going to help you big time. You just got an X Factor tenant in here now. So like, hey, this is going to bring up the value up of my plaza, and now I can charge good price per square footages to other tenants that are coming in. Yield cost. So this kind of goes into calculations. It basically shows a return based on what it costs to build it. And so here's an example. There's a retail center, cost 8 million to develop. We're projecting an NOI, which is profit, annual profit is what NOI means, net operating income. It's annual profit. So the yield cost would be my projected profit divided by how much it cost me to build this thing is 8%. Okay, so like that would be it. Like I'd be like, oh, my yield on cost would be about 8%, almost like a guess. So if market cap rates are 6.5, I have a 1.5 spread. So it's just like something you do in calculations. Z, zoning verification letter. You got to be careful when developing because the city may or may not allow you to do something. So before closing, the attorney may request a zoning verification letter. The city confirms the zoning. They say, yeah, it's a C2. You're allowed to do medical here. Great. Now we proceed to the closing. I'm not going to close on this thing without a zoning verification letter. I have to make sure the city approves this. I'm 100% sure I can build my medical center here first, and then I'll close. So that's the zoning verification letter. So there you go, guys. That is the ABCs of commercial real estate. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope you guys learned a few things in the ABCs, at least more than you knew before, right? That's for sure. So if you're interested in commercial real estate, if this is something you want to do, definitely reach out. We will put you in front of the right people. We'll put you in front of the gas station people, the car wash people. We'll put you in front of them. We'll tell you what to say. We'll tell you how to act. So you know exactly how to make that happen. Hey, if you enjoyed this training and you want more where this came from, go ahead and schedule a call now. Somewhere around this video, there's a link you can press. Takes you to the calendar. We get on a call, ask you a few questions, and if we feel like you're a good fit, we're going to invite you to our community. This community is booming. It has the most cutting edge technology available, and we want you inside of it. So if you're sick of spinning your wheels, if you're sick of just winging it, and you want to take real estate seriously, you want to make it a real business and hit 6 figures or multiple 6 figures per year, you can do it, but you have to be positioned properly in the marketplace. People have to look at you like an authority figure, like a real brand. And this is something that we can help you do to start generating leads, speak to people the right way, and get to the finish line. That's what it's all about, okay? So go ahead, schedule the call right now with our team, and let's see if we can really transform your business and your life and where you're going. See you soon.